are live. Great, and through the chair, we are live.
Okay, good morning, and thank you all in attendance today. I'd like to call to order the July 26, 2021 meeting of the Perth County Land Division Committee. I would like to note that what will be shown on the screen for those viewing at home is our remote meeting platform, whereby whoever is speaking will be shown predominantly, with smaller images of members and staff attending along the edge of the screen. The agenda for this meeting hearing has been posted online at perthcounty.ca. If you want to follow along, please feel free to access it now. I will remind all committee members, staff, and any others participating in the meeting to please mute your microphones when not in use to reduce the feedback. As this meeting is being held remotely, there are some procedural changes regarding how the committee will vote. The Secretary-Treasurer will call each of the members' names, and each member will respond if they are in favor or opposed to the motion, and the chair will announce the result of the vote. Before we proceed, we will confirm attendance of the committee members by a roll call. So Rachel, I'll let you do that at this time.
Great, thank you. Through the chair, Walter McKenzie, are you present?
Yes.
Thank you. Warden Aitchison?
Yes.
Thank you. Deputy Warden Eggets?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Duncan?
Yes.
Thank you. And Councillor Wilhelm?
Present.
Thank you. And we have
So attendance is complete, and we do have a quorum for our meeting this morning. So the first item on our agenda is confirmation of today's agenda. And the motion that I have here is that the July 26, 2021 agenda be approved. Do we have a mover and seconder for that resolution? Moved by Councillor Wilhelm, seconded by Warden Aitchison. Rachel, I'll let you do the vote then.
Thank you. Chair McKenzie, how do you vote?
Yes.
Warden Aitchison, how do you vote?
Yes.
Deputy Warden Eggets, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Duncan, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Councillor Wilhelm, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, so that motion is carried and the agenda for this morning is approved. Does anybody have a conflict of interest with anything on the agenda? Okay, don't see anything. So the next item on our agenda is the adoption of the previous minutes. And there is one little correction to note, otherwise it would have been the shortest meeting in history. The meeting ended at 10:01, not 9:31. So, anyways, so other than that, I think that was the only correction that we needed. So a motion to accept the Land Division minutes from June the 28th Land Division Committee meeting would be in order. Do we have a move by Deputy Warden Eggets? We have a seconder for that? Councillor Matt Duncan. And Rachel, I'll let you do your magic again.
Thank you. Chair McKenzie, how do you vote?
Yes.
Warden Aitchison, how do you vote?
Yes.
Deputy Warden Eggets, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Duncan, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Councillor Wilhelm, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you.
And that motion is also carried. Okay, item 5 is hearing of applications for consent, and we really haven't got any that we're going to specifically deal with this morning, I believe. So the next is the reports, and 6.1 is an updated report. It's the revised application for consent to sever number B48-20, which is a lot addition by Ross McTavish, and our senior planner, Adam Kowalski, will present the report, and he will be available for questions from the committee following his presentation. So Adam, I'll let you go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, committee. I'm going to share a screen and just briefly refresh committee's memory on this application. It's been in the system now since 2020, and I think I'll just bring everybody up to date on how we got here. And everybody can see the screen okay and see my cursor moving?
Yep, looks good.
Okay, thank you. So this application originally, I'll start with the first application, which was for a lot addition. And that lot addition was originally 0.26 hectares or 0.64 acres. And originally, the applicant had requested the land area, if you can see this black rectangle here, it was to extend to the back of the property line here. And that application was deferred and returned to Land Division Committee with the shape that you see now, which is this piece here, which is 0.15 hectares or just a little over a third of an acre. So it has 54 feet of frontage on line 72, and then it's got 295 feet of depth. And this parcel is what the applicant is requesting to be conveyed from the farm lot next door to this residential lot for installation of a geothermal system. So this configuration had originally appeared before Land Division Committee on February 22nd of this year. And Mr. McTavish at the time had presented some photographs showing the land in question, and also had shown some photographs of that creek over here in the floodplain. At the end of that hearing, Land Division Committee deferred the application again to have the applicant work with staff to examine two things. One was a land swap at the back of the property here to convey land away from the residential lot to the farm lot as a method to offset the lot area so that the non-farm residential lot basically would not be increasing in size as a result of the land swap. The second reason it was deferred was the applicant was requested to give additional rationale or justification for the geothermal system to be located in the lawn area up here. So going forward, in the committee report package, there is correspondence from the geothermal installer, and I won't read it out in full, but basically the geothermal installer is saying that the soil conditions on this side are optimum for installation of the system for various technical reasons. The other aspect was the land swap, and I just want to show committee a few photos here from the site. So this is the land area looking from line 72 south, and it goes back 295 feet into the property. And I just wanted to show the committee in this case that it's really just meadow. The creek is over here and the land slopes down. So this is part of the floodplain. And when I looked at the air photo that we have on our GIS going back to 2000, I didn't see any evidence that this part of the property had ever been farmed or tilled. So one of the things we look at in the Perth County official plan when we do these boundary adjustments is we have to make the case that it's the minimum amount of land possible and that it's having minimal or no impacts on agriculture. This is from the property looking north towards line 72. So this is basically the back part of that 295 feet. And you can see it's just lawn. Mr. McTavish actually takes care of this part of the property. We're actually on the neighboring lot in this photo. Regarding the land swap, so this is the drain at the back of the property. The neighboring field is over here. This is where the crops start. And when we looked at the land swap, if we were to do a trade acre for acre, really, this is the rear of the McTavish property. So what really would happen is the drain area would be going into the farm land area. So the usefulness of that land swap for farming alone is questionable, because really it's just that drain area of the property that would be going to the farm lot. So I will stop sharing. So the staff recommendation is to approve the application subject to the conditions in the report and subject to the reasons in the staff report that are included. This recommendation aligns with the recommendation back in February from the consulting planner who had recommended approval of this application. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and I believe Mr. McTavish is here if there are any questions relating to the geothermal or any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adam. Another $5 into the kitty here for being muted. Are there any questions on Adam's report at this time from any of the committee members? Deputy Warden Nagels?
It's not a question, more of a comment. I understand what's going on and what they want done, but I think it wasn't about the usefulness of the land. It was about the size of the lot. So here we have a lot, and what they're taking is actually zoned. Is it not zoned agricultural, or is it zoned floodplain?
Give me 1 second. I will check that. So if I can share screen again, I'll show committee the zoning.
Sure. Yeah.
So the property, if you can see here, these outbuildings here are in an ACM1 zone, and the property up here, which is part of the same lot, is in the agricultural zone. So the boundary adjustment would be these lands here, which are also zoned agricultural. So there would be no zone change required as a result of the boundary adjustment.
Right. But that's not the perception that this is going to give to the public. This is going to give to the public that we are increasing a lot that's already how big, and yet we have to give them more land to put their geothermal in. I know there's an explanation why geothermal has to go where it is, and that was the rationale to, so you're taking land that's not in production, and I still don't see why they can't give that creek part at the back end as the swap, because it's not in production either. They're both zoned agricultural, but neither one of them is in production. So I'm not seeing why that land swap could not happen, and I think it still is a better message to the public, because to me, we're giving the message that, oh yeah, you got, I don't even know how many acres he has, 2.5 or whatever it is, and oh, we're going to give you a bit more because you need it for your, it's hard to justify we're doing this, because somebody else is going to come, we're setting a precedent here, somebody else is going to come along and say they want to do the same thing, or they want an increase in their property. We already did it once, so we should do it again.
Adam, I don't know whether you want to respond to that or not.
Through you, Mr. Chair, just procedurally, I'm going to share a screen again, just in regard to the land swap. On screen here, if we were to do a land swap, just for committee's information and procedurally from our end, if we were to take land from the back of the property here and convey it to the farm, we would also have to do a rezoning. So we would have to remove the ACM1 zone from the conveyed strip and rezone it to agricultural. So the applicant would have to go through an additional application process and an additional public process as a condition if we were to do the land swap. And that's just a procedural comment.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay, seeing none. Mr. McTavish, do you have anything further to add at this particular time? Don't hear anything. I know he's muted. I'll take it that
Hello?
he has no further.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for letting me speak. Yes, the big lawn section of the property, I would like to actually put a field in there and put some cattle in there, because I hate cutting grass, maybe just like as other people, but would that help with the council's decision at all? Like, I've talked to about 5 or 6 people, and they wouldn't mind putting a fence up there and grow some cattle so they could have some beef or sheep for the fall. But we can't do that this year. But like next year, they'd like to use that land for agriculture, and I'm not opposed to that. Like, it's the land is big, and I'd like to use it for something other than cutting grass, because I don't want to cut grass, and I don't want to put it into grow crops at all, because we're too close to the corner and I don't want to obstruct the view. But I'd be happy to put it in the field for raising beef cattle or something like that.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
Okay. I'm not sure how
Any other questions from the committee members? Okay, I do have a resolution here and I will read it and then I'll ask for a mover and seconder. And the resolution is that Perth County Land Division Committee receives the update report revised application for consent to sever number B48/20, a lot addition by Ross McTavish, report for information, and that the County of Perth Land Division Committee approve the application for consent to sever B48/20, affecting lands described as Lot 7, Concession 6, Mornington Ward, 4575, line 72, Township of Perth East, subject to the conditions that were listed there. And I won't read the conditions, but they were there for you. So at this time, do we have a mover and seconder for that resolution? Or I guess the option is for another resolution of some kind, but we'll deal with this one at this particular time. So we have a mover and seconder for that. Moved by Matt, thank you. Do we have a seconder? Warden Aitchison. Okay, any further discussion on this particular motion? Okay, seeing none, Rachel, I'll let you conduct the vote.
Thank you. Through you, Chair Mackenzie, how do you vote?
Yes.
Warden Aitchison, how do you vote?
Yes.
Deputy Warden Agate, how do you vote?
No.
Councillor Duncan, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Councillor Wilhelm, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you.
So that motion has carried. The next item on our agenda is a request to amend conditions of consent for application to recreate an easement, and it's B12/21 by Gamma Engineering on behalf of 2224243 Ontario Limited. And David Gundrum is going to present this report, and he'll also be available for questions from the committee following his presentation. So David.
Hey, thank you, Chair Mackenzie. Members of committee, I'm just going to share a screen here quickly to help illustrate what's going on with this proposal. So everyone can see the image on the screen.
Looks good, Dave.
Great. So what this is before you today, everybody, is an application to change existing conditions of consent approval for consent B12/21. And what this application originally did, it was conditionally approved at the end of June of this year, was to create an easement between the two properties along Main Street South and Milverton shown here. So the property to the south contains the existing Esso gas station and service station. Property to the north was the site of a former restaurant, which is proposed to be redeveloped at this time to contain a Tim Hortons restaurant. The original easement that was approved through the original approval was an easement in gross across the entire parcel highlighted in yellow here in favor of the parcel in red for the purpose of access for both service vehicles such as garbage trucks and fire and emergency vehicles. And so the applicants requested that this easement be adjusted. The original easement was an easement in gross, so it would have been across the entirety of the parcel to the south. And the applicants have identified some issues, technical and legal issues that may come about in the future as a result of that. So the application before you is a request to change condition number 4 of that easement to delineate more precisely where that easement is to be situated. So in the second image, I'll just zoom in a little bit for committee's information. The easement, instead of being in gross over the entirety of the property to the south, would only be the hatched area shown here, being approximately 5.5 meters wide at the road, and it would flare out further to the back. And again, the purpose of this easement is to allow for loading, unloading, garbage pickup, and emergency vehicle access onto the site that would contain the future Tim Hortons across the existing site to the south, which contains the gas station property. So that is a summary of this easement. Planning staff have reviewed the application and are recommending approval. The proposed change in condition would not materially affect of any substantial nature the original approval that was provided through delegated authority by the Land Division Committee. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that committee may have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, David. Are there any questions for David at this time? Okay, I don't see any. So I do have a resolution here. And the resolution is that Perth County Council receives the request to amend conditions of consent for application to create an easement B1221 by Gamma Engineering Inc. on behalf of 222-4243 Ontario Limited report, and that the County of Perth Land Division Committee approve the request to amend conditions of consent for application for consent to create an easement by Gamma Engineering on behalf of 222-4243 Ontario Limited, application number B12/21 for the property described as registered plan 363, part lot 222, reference plan Church Alley, the Milverton Ward Township of Perth East, which is commonly known as 76 Main Street South in the town of Milverton, and that the new conditions shall be as followed, and they were listed there for your perusal. Do we have a mover and seconder for that motion? Deputy Warden Agats and Councillor Bob Wilhelm. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Rachel, I'll let you do the vote.
Thank you. Chair Mackenzie, how do you vote?
Yes.
Warden Aitchison, how do you vote?
Yes.
Deputy Warden Agats, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Duncan, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Councillor Wilhelm, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you.
Very good. So that motion is carried. So it looks like Milverton can look forward to a Tim Hortons in the future, somewhere down the road. The next item on the agenda then is the new, in process, final approved, on hold, withdrawn, lapsed, and delegated authority approved applications. And I'll let Rachel run through that report.
Thank you. Through the chair, good morning, committee. The report in front of you addresses the recent land division activity since the last land division committee up until July 16th, in which time this report was written. So just to summarize for the committee, we did receive quite a few new applications. We did receive 10. We currently have 7 in progress. 5 received conditional approval through the delegated authority process. 4 did receive final approval, meaning the certificate of official has been issued and the properties can be registered. And 2 applications do remain on hold. One applicant was electing to wait for the outcome of OPA 189, and that applicant will have been notified of that decision. So we should see some movement shortly. And with that, the report is in front of you, but I am happy to answer any questions about any of the files.
Okay. Any questions with regards to any of those particular files? Okay, I don't see any. So I do have a motion here then that Perth County Land Division Committee received the LDC Secretary Treasurer's report on the new, in process, final approved, on hold, withdrawn, lapsed, and delegated approved applications being presented this morning on July the 26th, 2021 for information. Do we have a mover and seconder for that? Moved by Warden Aitchison and seconded by Councillor Wilhelm. And any further discussion on any of that? Okay, Rachel, I'll let you do the vote.
Great, thank you. Chair Mackenzie, how do you vote?
Yes.
Warden Aitchison, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Deputy Warden Agats, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Duncan, how do you vote?
Yes.
Great. And Councillor Wilhelm, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you.
So that motion is also carried. Next item is correspondence, and I don't believe we have any, do we, Rachel?
Not at this time.
No, and nothing in the appeal at this time. Any other business? Don't see anybody putting their hand up. I don't think we have a closed session that I'm aware of. So the next meeting date will be August the 30th. Again, at 9:30 in the morning. I guess the question I ask is this, will this meeting be a Zoom meeting or in person? And I'm assuming it's a Zoom meeting, but I'm going to ask.
Through the chair, thank you for the question. That is something that I will confirm with our CAO and clerk and then report back to the committee on that.
Sure, that's great. That's
Thank
great.
you.
Hey, Walter,
Okay, yes, go
speaking
ahead.
of Zoom or in person, I had a chat with Lori last week and I asked about a hybrid council meeting for August.
Yes,
So she is just conferring with the health unit to make sure that we are totally legal. So chances are we're going to have a hybrid meeting for council. So you may end up having a hybrid for this as well.
right. Well, I know West
When these
Perth
meetings are only
is,
half an hour, I kind of prefer the Zoom, to be honest.
well, the
with you.
Zoom would work out for short meetings, that's for sure. It'd take you longer to drive down and drive home again than what the meeting is.
Exactly.
Yeah. I know West Perth is looking at a hybrid of some type for August. We've got the community center booked and they're in the process of kind of setting things up there. But I think all the meetings from here on in will probably be a type of hybrid because of the interest shown by the number of people in the community that actually watch, council meetings especially. It's kind of the way of the future. I think it's going to all have to be on YouTube. So I have nothing further. Rachel, you have nothing further to add at this time. So the motion that we have right now then is that land division be adjourned at approximately 9:57, I believe. So do we have a mover and seconder for that? Moved by Councillor Duncan, seconded by Councillor Wilhelm. And I'll let you do the final vote, Rachel.
Thank you. Chair McKenzie, how do you vote?
Yes.
Warden Aitchison, how do you vote?
Yes.
Deputy Warden Eggets, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Duncan, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Councillor Wilhelm, how do you vote?
Yes.
Great, thank you
So
so much.
That motion's also carried. So we are adjourned and wish everybody all the best until we meet again.